Hello and welcome to episode 115 of the Wise Guys podcast. I am John Tortorelli, Brian Capozziello, and Justin Ray. In today's episode, we'll be diving in deep, no pun intended, to our most recent guest, Rudy, into the NBA offseason for 2023. I don't know about you guys, but it feels like it's all been downhill since 2019. That's when the excitement was at its pinnacle. But we also have to discuss the Jordan Poole-Chris Paul trade. Who won and who will regret it? Along with that, at the end of this episode, we want to do a little bit of trivia, a little bit of NFL previews for the Bears and Packers. I'm excited for this one. How are you fellas doing, though?
I'm feeling good. I woke up to some great news. My New York Yankees threw a perfect game last night, hoping this is the thing that really turns the season around and gets us rolling. Fun fact, the last three times the Yankees threw a perfect game, 99, 98, and 1956, they all ended with some World Series titles at the end. So, speaking this one into existence, let's go Yankees. Bring home 28.
Yeah, I'm doing great this fine Thursday morning. I'm ready to talk some basketball and some football with you guys. I got some trivia questions. They might be tough for both of you guys. They hit home to you guys personally too, so they're gonna be good. And John, I think that you keep it. We're on episode 114. You always push us an episode higher. We're on 114.
You positive?
100%. I post the checkout this episode, so you just check the Instagram or Twitter.
Today is episode 114, but we will also be discussing, because I forgot this part, the top 10 shooting guards in the NBA, and I have an opinion that a lot of people should agree with if they know ball. But with all that out the way, John Collins got traded, and I don't know about you guys, but it feels like it's been 4 years in the making that the Hawks would finally say, all right, goodbye. We're going to get your salary off our books, and we're going to get a full taxpayer level exception, or a full mid-level exception. Could he have a Lauri Markkanen type revival in Utah? Is that possible? Given a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, he was helping lead this team to the Eastern Conference Finals?
You know, I'll be honest with you. So we've touched on the Hawks a couple of times since we started this show. And one thing that I always say about John Collins is the Hawks don't want you. You don't want the Hawks, and the Hawks don't want you. This has been a writing on the wall for a long time that he's been due to get out of there, and it's about time. Maybe fresh place and a new style of play. Maybe this is the opportunity that he gets to flourish, and I think it will be. I think Utah is the perfect place to land. I think they're a little. They surprised a couple of people going into the season after trading Donovan Mitchell, getting rid of Gobert, and they were better than expected, at least for a short period of time. I think they're doing the right things in that organization, and John Collins is a young talent, and I don't think he's reached the ceiling just yet.
Yeah, he's still young. He's 25 years old. Turns 26 this year in September. He's had, his stat line and his production have gone down since his 19 and 8 days. His 3-point shooting has gone down. Yeah, his value is real low. Can he have a resurgence? I don't think so, because I think he's probably going to be coming off the bench if Lauri's going to be getting the starting role at the 4 spot. So I think John Collins is going to be coming off the bench. Could he perform? Sure, the pressure is not there as much as it was in Atlanta when you were asked to basically be, I guess, the number 2. But when DeJounte came in, he was kind of asked to be like the 3 and kind of a role player more or less. So that now he's going to just be asked to just do your job, be a role player. He can maybe get. I don't have his contract in front of me, John. You probably know it better than me.
But 3 years, 75.
2 years left.
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
2 years. Okay. So yeah, he's probably just looking, because he's 25. He's probably 26. So he's probably looking to do his job, do his role well to the best of his ability, and then maybe parlay that into getting onto a winning team in 2 or 3 years whenever his contract is up. That's really, I don't see John Collins. I know Justin said that he hasn't reached his potential or ceiling yet. We're not doing the ranking the power forwards today, but he's much lower on my list. He's like borderline top 10, like right at the tail end of that. And I don't really know if he gets any higher than that. I think he's kind of capped. He's a good, solid player. He can put up points. He can rebound the ball. He's an efficient scorer. It's just I don't know if there's that, I don't think he's an all-star caliber player. I think he's a good, solid role player.
That's Perrin's way of calling him mid. He's got actually 3 years left. He signed a 5-year deal for 125. I agree with you guys. I think he did kind of hit his peak in 2020, where he's a 20-10 guy in 41 games. And the Jazz have 5 different bigs in the roster, are all 6'8" and can shoot it. Collins, though, mangled his finger a year ago, and so you don't know if he can do anymore. Just shot a career low from downtown, below 30%. But yeah, he's going to have to, in some time, come off the bench here. You just drafted Taylor Hendricks in the top 10. He's going to be the long-term power forward. Laurie at the 3. Markkanen's almost 7 feet tall, man. So you got Kessler at the 5. He's 7 feet. Kelly Olynyk oftentimes gets forgotten, but he's one of the most underappreciated bigs in the game. So I like what Danny Ainge is doing. It feels like they're just trying to kind of get his value back up so they can flip him something down the line. But to start today's episode off, Jordan Poole was traded to the Washington Wizards for Chris Paul, and what was included in the deal was the Warriors' former first-round pick Patrick Baldwin a year ago and Ryan Rollins. And the process, the Dubs are getting a 38-year-old Chris Paul. The reason they made this trade is because they had a $211 million expected payroll, which would give them a tax bill of, well, somewhere in the ballpark of $500 million or more. Who won this trade? I got a CP3 fan on the show. I've got some bad news for him. I really do think this is going to go poorly for the Warriors by the end of this next year.
Be careful.
You want me to take it? Okay. I think it's going to go poorly. So I guess basically let's start with the Chris Paul side of things, right? In the Golden State. And then we can get to, the Washington winners. Winners. They're not Wizards. They're far from winners. So Chris Paul to Golden State. Here's what I'll say about Chris Paul, right? Yes. Let's get the quote unquote negatives out of the way. Yes. He's old. What is he? 38, 39 years old now. Okay. Yes. Has he broken down consistently in the playoffs deep in the season? Yes. Those are kind of the negatives on Chris Paul. Defensively, he's not what he once was because of already at his size, he was 6 feet. He would just fight you back in his prime with everything he's got. And he still does that. It's just less because his athleticism is not what it once was. And his stamina is not what it once was because he's not 25 years old anymore. But with all that being said, those are the negatives. Let's look at the positives, Chris Paul. First off, every single place Chris Paul has gone in his entire career, what has he always done? He's made them better. Success, winning. Okay, you're going to say CP0. Chris Paul never should be your. Usually, when you look at the history of basketball, has there ever been a 6-foot guard as the best player on a championship team?
Isaiah Thomas.
That's the only one, right? That's it.
Well, Bob Cousy, I think, might have won one before Russell.
Okay, let's not go back that far. Okay, that's different time, different era. So every place Chris Paul has gone, they've been successful. They've won. He's put out the best. He's gotten the best out of them. You go start at the Hornets where he was drafted. You go to the Clippers, creating Lob City, and he never should have had Blake Griffin as that just was a bad design. And then DeAndre. Oh, okay.
Well, it's really good of the injuries, those two.
Yeah. I get that, but to start it off, the product of the team was more about an entertainment value than it was about actually getting the job done late in the season. And they kind of got passed up. Like the era of basketball was switching right at that period of time because Golden State was coming in, and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan were kind of like just nullified at the end of that because there was like not that much shooting from those spots. Then you go to Houston and you give Houston and James Harden his best chance at winning a championship. He had a game 7 in Houston, if I'm not mistaken, against the Warriors. Next year was a down year. Stuff behind the scenes got involved and they couldn't recreate that magic of the year before and whatever. Then he goes to OKC. Everybody expected lottery team. The guy made the playoffs with that team. Made the playoffs. Went 7 games with his Houston team that shipped his ass out. Then he goes to Phoenix. A poor-ass franchise since what, the 2000s? Mid-2000s? 60-plus win team year in and year out, if I'm not mistaken. NBA Finals appearance. Record regular season wins.
64.
Makes Devin Booker start being talked about amongst the upper echelon of players because now he's actually winning. His stats are actually producing in terms of wins. Chris Paul. Chris Paul is now coming to Golden State. Chris Paul brings leadership. Chris Paul brings toughness. Chris Paul brings an ability to be efficient. Chris Paul brings one of the highest basketball IQs in all of basketball. Chris Paul brings defensive tenacity. I know he's not what he once was, but he can still fight you, and he's going to bring that pit bull mentality. Chris Paul brings things. I know he's going to be asked to basically be a spot-up shooter. Chris Paul can make open shots, okay? Is he going to be Steph Curry or Klay Thompson? No, but he can make open shots. I don't know his numbers off the top of my head, but I think he's a career 37% three-point shooter, around that point. He can make open shots. I trust Chris Paul to make open shots. His mid-range is still deadly. So I don't see how it's going. When this move was made, I instantly thought, and I know Chris Paul is 7 inches shorter, but I instantly thought of Sean Livingston, of what role he brought to the Golden State in those early days, where a guy who's going to come off the bench and give you 15. Chris Paul is probably going to give you 15 to 25 minutes per game, and he's going to provide so much off the bench. And the key ingredient of this is that the issue is now resolved. Jordan Poole is left, bring Draymond Green back, and that issue is resolved. There's no more chemistry issues. They can say all the right things in the media. We know that wasn't the case. Actions speak louder than words. I'm a big action guy. I'm not about words can mean jack diddly shit to me. I saw Jordan Poole ignore Draymond Green in a playoff game this year, and Steph Curry had to get in his ass. I saw that. Not a good look. I saw Jordan Poole have his back turned while talking to the media after a playoff game this year. I saw that. No. Good move by the Golden State Warriors. And good move by the Washington Wizards, too.
Yeah, I think I'm with Brandon on that. I think any place that CP3 goes, things go well, at least for a short period of time. Golden State, their window to win another championship isn't a big window. It's closing. They're all getting older. Steph is in his mid-30s. Clay's getting older. Dre and drama with Dre. I think you implement CP. You just have a second floor general there who's probably going to come off the bench for you to run that second unit. I think that's an excellent move. You really can't go wrong with that. That's somebody with a championship mentality, although, yes, he hasn't gotten that ring. But I would say none of his teams have been – he hasn't been the reason that they haven't won the championship. He just hasn't had the greatest supporting cast to get him over that finish line, in my opinion. So I think – CP3 to Golden State, playing with Steph, playing with Clay, playing with Dre, I think that's a match made in heaven. And I think if anybody is going to transform any culture or just seamlessly fit in with the culture, it'll be Chris Paul. That's Golden State Warriors have won how many championships in the last couple of years? You throw CP3 in that's fine. You can't just throw any vet in there. CP3 is one of a kind. I think it worked.
I want to say one last thing, John, that Justin hit on real quick. Coming off the second unit, he's going to add so much help to a Kuminga and a Moody, where he's going to give them so much more confidence. He's going to get them so much better shots and bring maybe their best abilities out. And, yeah, that's all I want to say after that.
I do like the idea of him running pick and roll with Kuminga because he's the only one of really athletic pop on the team, but I think the theory of Chris Paul in this day and age is much better than the reality. He is one of the best, most high usage pick and roll guards in the league that goes to a team that ran the least amount of pick and rolls this season. There's a stat out there where, hell, he comes in, he now adds an element to where you can play stuff off the ball. But the reality is, in the 26 games Steph Curry misses last season, the Warriors were 14-12. Why? Because Jordan Poole was their leading scorer, creating offense at a pretty high level when he was out. You add in Chris Paul, and don't get me wrong, I love the theory of him running the second unit rather well. In the playoffs, though, unlike Jordan Poole, who was hurt in this last postseason, he's going to be hurt. He has been at every stop of the way, minus Oklahoma City, because they didn't make it past the first rounds. if this Warriors team has aspirations to contend, we know Chris Paul is going to get hurt. It's unfortunately happened in just about every single stop since Los Angeles. And going on 39 years old, it's probably going to get a little bit worse. And even this last year, where he was healthy in the first game and a half, just one game and a half versus the Nuggets, he didn't have the same lift. This year, he made 16 shots at the rim. Or pardon me, I think the stat was he took 16 shots at the rim. And if he doesn't have the same lift, he shot 31% catch and shoot shots this last postseason. I look at the Warriors and I say, you got maybe worse right now. And long term, there is no successor now for Steph Curry. The whole point of this move to me was going all in with the core three. And I respect that. But you have to understand, we have to have some sort of game plan long term. Klay Thompson, to me, is just less valuable and less essential to this team because he's no longer an elite defender. And hell, I don't know if he's a good defender at this. He's okay. In the playoffs, his shot has failed him in back-to-back postseasons, and he's pressed so much with poor shot selection to try to get back into a rhythm, and it's hindered the Warriors' offense. Jordan Poole, to me, is more essential now and long-term. And while he had a terrible year, it's easy to project his growth long-term. And he's going to get better in Washington. So for Golden State, in theory, it's a great move. But in practicality, we've seen the end of the era. I think this is where you say to yourself, hey, look, if anything, they're going to use him like D'Lo in a potential trade to retain that roster spot. Maybe they can flip him to something down the line because he's non-guaranteed next season. I'm just really concerned because, well, I think Jordan Poole is going to light up in Washington, D.C. And while he was terrible, absolutely miserable this last postseason, he was dealing with that ankle injury. He had just been knocked out by a teammate. And generally speaking, he needed a little bit of clarity because the entire year he was cycling through a starting role to a bench role, and he was better in the starting lineup. So for the Warriors, I give this trade maybe a C plus. Paul has to stay healthy. And on top of that, he has to fit. I don't think he closes with these guys because he's not that much of a catch and shoot type player. He's also 6 foot. You can't play him and start him with Steph because defensively, you are very undersized now. And so, if they had a good role man, let's say they had someone that was more athletic than Draymond, I would be a little more optimistic here. But Draymond Green inherently is not a role. He's a good short roll passer, but he's not going to be the one finishing pick and rolls like he's DeAndre Jordan in his prime, or even DeAndre Ayton. He's got amazing touch. So it doesn't feel like the right fit either to me.
No, your points are valid. I would just here's what I'd ask you. So you think that in practicality it's not going to work. So do you expect what do you expect from the Warriors this upcoming season then? Do you expect them to be finished with a worse record or stay the same?
Wow. They just won 44 games.
That's what I'm
They're
saying.
the 6th seed. Do they win more or less? That's a good question.
So how much does this affect the Golden State Warriors when you say it's not going to work in practice? How much does this actually affect them?
I think you actually rely on Steph more now in the regular season to be healthy. Mm-hmm. But in the playoffs, it's not as essential for him to be on the floor in the 4 games that Paul's actually playing. Mm-hmm. So I expect them to be much around the same. Where I think this won't age well is when you get to the postseason and that $14 million, well, technically you're paying him $28 million. He's making the same. If you're going to actually, because the guarantee date, it was yesterday for Chris Paul's contract. He's guaranteed $28 million. He's making the same amount as Jordan Poole. Poole would at least be on the floor for you. And he brings a lot more value in the regular season. So I think Brandon, they still win around mid-40s. I don't expect them to win 50 because Steph is probably a 55 game per season player. And then the playoffs, that's where it'll start to sour.
All right, so here's what. Sorry, Justin, because he didn't address the point that really is the crux of this whole issue, is the issue between Draymond and Jordan Poole. Like, do you think like it's just magically finger snap, it gets fixed, like because we're in a new year now? Like, so how does that? Because for your thought to work, right? For Jordan Poole to reach his potential in Golden State and for them to recreate that magic from 2 years ago, that issue has to be resolved. Mm-hmm. They had a whole year to do it, and it didn't happen. That's why I've been saying that it's not going to happen. So where does that magic fairy dust that you're talking about come from? How does that work?
The fairy dust isn't coming. You're picking between 2 hard choices, but In the pre-Steph Curry era, this Warriors team was miserable. Absolutely miserable. So your choices were you have to tough it out for one more year, give him Poole a second chance, which probably could age poorly, but it could also grow his value if you do want to flip him when he has, not 0 stars. The other option was you move him, and when Steph Curry retires in a couple of years, he's 35, let's say he plays at 40. In 5 years, the Warriors are going to be miserable. There is nothing here outside Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, and that is where I come from.
But here's the thing, though. You're forgetting this. Do you know how hard it is to have a dynasty and at the same time focus on 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line? That's like damn near impossible. That doesn't happen in sport. You can count on probably your 2 hands how many times that's happened in sports in general. We're seeing it right now with the New England Patriots. We saw it with the 49ers got lucky with going from Joe to Steve, but that didn't last long. Look at the 49ers since that. Look at the Dallas Cowboys. I know I'm talking basketball, but football, but it's like you can look at basketball too. The Cleveland Cavaliers without LeBron.
But you know what? I think this is just the end. This is the 98. This is the 98 Bulls. They just had their last dance.
But here's the thing, though.
2023
here's the thing. Jordan Poole was never this successor. He was just another guy on there that is a good player who can put up great points on a team that's not winning, which he's going to do in Washington. I could imagine Jordan Poole averaging 25 points, probably on like 42% shooting from the field. I can see that happening. But so
they won when he was starting.
Yeah, but you say him to be the successor in Golden State. What success? There's no. It wouldn't have been successful without.
He was the sixth man on an NBA champion. That's the success.
What? Wait,
he started and they had a winning record without Steph Curry, who to me is the second best player.
What was the winning record? Wait, what was the winning
14
record?
14 and 12.
You know what? 14 and 12. Fantastic.
2 games over.
Missing the second best player in the world. You know,
you made it seem like he elevated them to a point where they were. With a 650 winning percentage. Yeah, they were barely 500.
That is impressive when you're missing that level of a player.
I understand. Yes, without Steph Curry, but still, that's not super impressive. That's barely cracking 500. You're not with Jordan Poole as your number 1, John.
They were barely cracking 500 with Steph, so clearly the roster wasn't that great.
Okay, but
otherwise it would have been better.
You're getting in a slippery slope. What you're trying to argue right there, though. Okay. What I'm saying, though, is Jordan Poole is not this successor, okay? Just like in New England, Jimmy Garoppolo was never going to be this successor, okay? Jordan Love, probably not going to be this successor. It's these are good players. They can be good players. But to say to succeed to the Golden State Warriors of the past. If you want to say it's the end, John, I agree with you. It's the end when Steph Curry leaves. When Steph's gone, it's over. So with Jordan Poole in 5 years, he'll be 28, 29 years old, right in the middle of his prime. There's no championships on the horizon unless they draft some insanely highly touted talent that's in 2027 or 2030, which is years away. So you got to. For what I'm basically trying to say is, Golden State Warriors are focused on right now. Because you shouldn't be worrying about 5-10 years. You got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green coming back.
And I think that's the big thing. If you have Steph, Klay, Dre, and now you add CP3, you're not looking 5 years down the line. Your goal is right now. Your goal is just to win championships in one of the next 2 years. That's really it. I don't think this mentality of, we have to worry about what's to come 5-10 years. We'll get there. We'll worry about that when we get there. But right now, in today's NBA, you go for winning championships. I mean, some organizations have to plan 5-10 years, like my Knicks, for so long because we didn't have a championship roster. Our windows for winning a championship was completely shut. It didn't even crack. The Warriors actually have still a chance. That window is still open. So I'd rather throw all of my eggs in one basket to sell out and win a championship today and then worry about the end of an era of Steph retiring, Klay leaving, and Dre leaving. Worry about that later. So I'm not too worried about this Jordan Poole thing. And anyways, it was either Poole or Dre. And you have to pick the person. You have to, or Klay. And honestly,
Yes.
you have to pick those two over Jordan Poole, because at the end of the day, those are the guys that have gotten you your rings. And yeah, you have to make tough decisions in this business. That was a tough decision. Jordan Poole had to go, and now you keep your core and you continue to build around it. And the addition of CP3 not only just it helps the second unit, but it like Brandon said, boosts the confidence of those guys that you want to see take the next level. If there's anybody that can boost their potential and raise their ceiling, it is CP. So you might see a different version of some of these guys, or just a better version of them come this season because of Chris Paul. So that's just my point. I really think that this is a good move right now. Yeah, the Warriors roster isn't perfect. No roster outside of the Denver Nuggets is probably perfect right now. And Denver still isn't perfect. So I think this is a good move. If the Warriors want to continue to win championships, that's a championship move, because, CP, he's about it. He's a point guard for a reason. And I think 1 year where he has a bad season and everybody wants to call him washed now, I think is a little bit ridiculous. Everybody's entitled to one bad year. He had it. Now it's time to bounce back.
The Wizards won. And talking about the Wizards, yeah, the NBA free agency so far, it's going to be disappointing. You look at the crop of players: Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Khris Middleton, Draymond Green, Jeremy Grant as the headliners. We're going to dive into our predictions. And to be honest, I think the majority of these guys are just going to re-sign at their existing teams. Might going to be more like 2019, though, when the stars all aligned in the perfect all season. You've got the Rockets going in on Westbrook. The Clippers do put together Kawhi and PG coming off his best year. The Lakers get AD. Even the Jazz got involved with Conley and Bogdanovich. And you forget the Nets and what they did. The Heat, all the while, were the most overlooked team. They signed Jimmy Butler once to the finals. I wish we can get back to that point. I don't know if we ever will, because now trades are the number one way to build teams after the draft. And it's no longer just signing guys in free agency.
Well, I mean, we've already seen like a major move happen with the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
Ishbia is going all out for them. Well, obviously the headliner is Kyrie Irving. I think he's kind of the wild goose in this one. He's the one you look at and you go, I gotta be honest, I just don't see him back in Dallas. I know they can offer him the most money. I just don't see it, man. I don't see Luka liking it that much. No matter what he says, it's just, it doesn't. I don't think that's what Luka really wants, in my opinion, is to deal with Kyrie and the headache of Kyrie.
He would rather deal with no co-star, is what you're telling me? Because I don't think this decision's up to Luka.
I think he'd rather deal with. It's going to sound cocky in his way. I'm not trying to think for Luka, but I just think that he would rather have it just be his team without Kyrie right now. Obviously, I think in a perfect world, he'd rather have Jalen Brunson back. That's obviously cannot happen. But yeah, I think you go find that Jalen Brunson type, a guy who's, not about the extracurricular. No, not about the extracurriculars and the stuff outside of basketball that's going to bring in it. That's not what Luka's about. That's never been what Luka is about. Putting his head down. He wants to freaking win. He's very Nikola Jokic like. So for me, Kyrie's the headliner. I don't see him back in Dallas. I really don't. I see, the Lakers are on there. I've been saying I just have a funny feeling he'll be in the Lakers. The Bucks maybe could be a partner where they do like maybe a sign and trade type. You got who are some other teams you can go to? It's got to be a championship contending team. So that's what I'm thinking.
None of those teams have cap space. It's between the Mavericks and the Lakers.
Well,
and
the Bucks could with a sign and trade. With a sign and trade, as I'm talking about, where they like trade like maybe a Drew Holiday and maybe the rights or whatever to like Khris Middleton, and they bring in Kyrie Irving.
So the Mavericks can offer Kyrie a 5th year in this contract. And that's the whole reason he requested a trade in the first place. Look, he's going to get a 35% max eligibility and 8% raises, which no other team can offer. The Lakers can't give him the 35. I don't know if they can give him the 30. They probably will give him the 25% max. And then the process would lead to Austin Reeves leaving free agency. It's quite clear to me, Kyrie Irving staying in Dallas. And this team that they've built is really underrated. What they just did in the draft, getting the non-taxpayer level exception, opens up the door to sign a Bruce Brown free agency on top of extending Kyrie. If you mean to tell me this next season, the Mavericks walk in with the starting lineup of Luka, Kyrie, Bruce Brown at the 3, you're undersized, sure, but Luka's 6'8". Maxi Kleber and Derek Lively, that this team isn't good enough to go to the conference finals again, I think you're crazy. They just killed the NBA draft. Getting Lively at 12 while clearing the salary of Dallas Bertans opens up a lot of opportunities in free agency. But then you get Max Prosper out of Marquette, who one day can become that Dorian Finney-Smith replacement. In the process, you have to take on Rashawn Holmes' contract, who was completely useless this last year for the Kings. But a year ago, Holmes was one of the league's darlings, one of the better backup bigs, an actual starting center. If one of he or JaVale McGee is on this team next season, you've got a good chance there's no backup center. It's reliable. But you can still parlay those two guys with a Tim Hardaway Jr. into a DeAndre Ayton. That's something they discussed with the Suns. Phoenix denied it. I'm really open to the possibilities of this team getting back to where they were. But not only that, you'll lose Jalen Brunson and Dinwiddie. Along the way, Christian Wood's going to walk a free agency. But you add in Lively, who's, by the way, very Tyson Chandler-esque. Awesome drop back big and rim protector. If it weren't for Wemby, he'd be the best defender in the center position in this year's draft class. He's not a good finisher. You pair him with Luka, and his ability as a lob threat is going to stand out. You then get Prosper. You have Bullock as your 7th or 8th man, and Jaden Hardy, who can be the kind of ideal 6-man spark plug in the games Kyrie misses. And I'm really all into this team rebounding. It's perfect. I expect Kyrie to get a 4-year deal, the 4th year partially guarantee like Chris Paul. It's probably going to be a little bit less than what he's fully eligible for.
It's really tough for any team. I could only imagine the discussions going on in those rooms where they're discussing whether or not Kyrie even deserves to be on the team or not. Like getting a long-term contract. He's the kind of player that I expect to really just be getting 1-year offers year after year after year, because you just really never know what to expect out of him. But in this case, I do end up seeing him going back to Dallas. I think I would love to see him in LA. If there was any possible way to bring him back to reunite with LeBron, that would be the match made in heaven that I want to see. I don't know if it's possible. That's really the thing. And I think Dallas, like you said, has the money. They can pay him however. They can pay him more than any team in the league right now. And at the same time, he got traded mid-season. It wasn't like he had a lot of time to flourish and really mesh with Luka. I think a full offseason of work can actually do this team a lot of benefits. So I want to see Kyrie back in Dallas because I want to see Luka play on the biggest stages. And if Kyrie's not there, I don't know what moves this Dallas team is going to make or who they're going to acquire to elevate this squad. And at this point, if you don't bring him back, you're also testing Luka's patience. So I think you're forced to bring him back.
That's a very valid point. For me, it's just I don't know. I just don't think this duo is going to work. I've said that from the get-go. It didn't work at all last year. I don't really see a change. I know John talked about a bunch of moves that they made. There's a lot of young guys that you're counting on to take these, big steps that you want. I don't really see it. I would still say with all those moves.
Why don't you see it?
Because that's what I'm about to say. With all those moves, they're barely the 8th best team in the West. Dude, Denver's better. Memphis is better. Sacramento's better.
No, I'm sorry. The Grizzlies are not better than the Mavericks. Stop that right now. They were the number 2 for the last 2 years. This Mavericks team is a walking.
Take Memphis out. Go ahead. I don't really care.
This Mavericks team is a walking 50-win squad when Luka has a. Can I finish?
Yes.
Thank you. When Luka has a squad around him, they are a walking 50-win team. And in the playoffs, they have a higher ceiling because Luka can't be stopped. The guy has the top 3 in points per game in the playoffs all time. Continue.
All right, take Memphis. Sacramento, they're not better. Phoenix, they're not better. The Clippers, they're not better. Golden State, they're not better. The Lakers, they're not better. OKC,
debatable.
Tossed up there. New Orleans, if Zion's healthy, they're not better than New Orleans.
So see what you're doing? Zion, who's missed 65% of his games in the NBA. If he's healthy, the New Orleans Pelicans are better, even though the last 2 years they've been, an 8th seed and a 10th seed because he hasn't been healthy. And then you named another team to me. It's funny. The Clippers, when Kawhi is coming off a torn meniscus, he's never healthy, and this was his best year where he was healthy. Paul George is going to be hurt. That Clippers team, I'm sorry, it's the same story every single year. They're not going to be as good as the Mavericks. They don't have the same potential because it's less likely. And at the same time, their floor is naturally lower.
Oh, so you brought up all those negative. May I bring you Kyrie Irving? Kyrie Irving been a model of consistency?
No.
Okay, then. Thank you. That's all I'm saying. We can bring up flaws with every freaking team, John. And Dallas, I think, has the wildest joker of all of them. So that's what I'm saying to you. Nobody's questioning Luka's freaking ability and his skill set. It's the team around him. I understand you made all the. You're counting on a lot of young guys to do a lot of things that they haven't done before.
That's fair, but there's also a lot of veterans who are now going to be relegated to bench roles. You talk about Josh Green, who is a very good 22-year-old solid wing. Maxi Kleber. You have to keep in mind, Kleber was hurt for the majority of this last season, was a starter and a key piece in their finals push a year ago. Then you've got Reggie Bullock, who every year shoots like shit in the first half, then becomes Reggie Miller in the second. If he is hot in the playoffs with Tim Hardaway Jr., who shot 39% from downtown, along with Jaden Hardy, who Kyrie's going to miss time, right? That's why it's important to get a bucket getter. Much like Cam Thomas in Brooklyn, who was able to keep up the pace when Kyrie was out, Jaden Hardy is going to get you 15 points per game. He's a plus passer. He's a good three-point shooter, and he's 6'4". Yeah. That is the type of guard you want when Kyrie is not available. Also important to note, though, Brian, is Kyrie consistent? No. Is the global pandemic, which caused him to miss a good amount of the season 2 years ago, prevalent? No. In Dallas, there's not a vaccine mandate on, but like that is the main reason that the Nets fell apart, along with an ankle injury in the second round of the playoffs versus the Bucks. So if there's less obstacles in the way of Kyrie finding ways and opportunities in this time, I am more optimistic in this panning out. That's just how it goes.
Let me ask you a question. Did the pandemic have anything to do with him tweeting out that link?
No, that was.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so. It's because I guess. And I listen. You can get angry at him or not, whatever. These are the things that I'm talking about. The idiocy of Kyrie Irving. You never know what is going to come out of that mouth.
Well, there's now one less way it can go south. That's what I'm getting at.
I just don't. I'm sorry, and I don't see it working. I would take with all those concerns you laid out when I named those teams. I'd still take basically a majority of all those teams over the Dallas Mavericks, and has nothing to do with Luka Doncic or just has nothing to do with Luka Doncic. It has to do with his counterpart. Go ahead.
Miami lost out on guys like Bradley Beal, probably not getting Dame. Would you want Kyrie? Would you welcome him?
Well, where are you saying probably not getting Dame?
I'm assuming that Dame ends up staying.
Okay, we want to play the hypothetical.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, listen, you guys need a bucket getter.
Yeah.
He's available. I don't think Miami could straight up sign him, right? It would have to be a sign and trade. Am I right, Don?
They don't have the scratch.
Yeah, it would have to be. Yeah, it would have to be like you'd have to work some inner working deals to get him on there. It's not obviously the first option. It's not the second option. And if it's the third option, it's one that you don't take lightly because there are a lot of ingredients in there that you might not really vibe with.
If you stretch Lowry, you'll still have 100 and you'll still
it would have to be a deal with Dallas though, and why would Dallas take Kyle Lowry and Tyler Hero? I mean, they might want to take Tyler Hero.
Why would Kyrie want to get a 25% max opposed to a 35, which was
that's true. Yeah,
that's like the whole reason he wanted to go to a team like the Mavericks is that they'll be desperate enough to pay him, and I'm really a believer because
he wanted to go to LA and Dallas just happened to be the only other team that was willing. He wanted. Okay.
Yeah.
LA made offers for him, John. They made offers.
Yeah, but they wouldn't long term have the same. I guess I would say because they'd be much further into the tax, they wouldn't have the same amount of money that Dallas can offer, and there's no state income tax either, so he's making more in the setup.
All right, well, that's a plus on Dallas's part. Yeah.
Next free agent up, James Harden. I think we can all expect he's not going to Houston at this point. They just drafted Amon Thompson. The expectation is he resigns. I think he gets a 3-year deal. If he gets a 4th year, it definitely should be non-guaranteed because, look, I saw that guy in the Brooklyn series shoot 20% on twos. I then saw him in that Celtics series. Look, this is not the same James Harden. And at 35, I'm not giving him a contract for over $30 million if it's longer than 3 years.
Yeah, I would say he's going to Philly. My big thing with Philly would be, or not big thing, main thing I would focus on is if you're bringing James Harden back, Tobias Harris has to go. There was comments just recently made by Tobias, like that, the casuals would trade me for a box of crumble cookies. I've been from the start. The Tobias Harris doesn't fit. It doesn't work. They don't use him the right way. And if you're Philly, I think it's time to move on from Tobias and get some maybe 2 players that are younger and could provide basically the same amount that Tobias can, but in more than one person. I just, it doesn't work for me. That him just standing in the corner or on the side with his hands open while James Harden plays with the ball for freaking 17 seconds and decides, all right, maybe I'll give it to Embiid or I'll drop like it just no. And that style of basketball doesn't win championships. So I don't. Yeah, you guys can talk about Philly if you want. They're not doing jack chili shit. I've said that since the fucking beginning.
I think Philly had a lot of hope going into the postseason. I think there was, after seeing some of the big games that James Harden put up in the playoffs, you thought that this team actually had a chance. At least I did. And I know you guys were crapping on James Harden a lot. Rightfully so. He has a track record that allows you to do so. But yeah, I could see him finding his way back to Philadelphia. I think him and Joel Embiid, they're a good duo together. I can't see James Harden going anywhere else or any true championship contender wanting to put that in and then absolutely changing their entire offense, because every time you bring in James Harden, the offense is surrounded by him. He has to dominate the ball, and I don't think you're going to put him anywhere else. So I think Philadelphia is probably the best spot for him. And then with a guy like Nick Nurse there, maybe you can get something else out of him. Maybe there's something else in the tank that you can get out of James Harden. But I see him staying in Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is still a championship contender. I'm a big believer in the fact that things can change. 1 year, something can happen. Some team gets hot, and quite like Miami this year, just out of nowhere. The expectation was not for them to make this much noise and go to the NBA Finals, but they did it. In the postseason, it comes down to who can get hot. And if Philadelphia can manage to do that with a guy like James Harden and Joel Embiid, if Joel Embiid is healthy, I think Philly could make a lot of noise. So I'm going to say James stays in Philly. I think that's the best fit.
He showed some maturity this last season. I definitely let me read the stat off to you guys. James Harden, this is from 2020, shot below 20% from the field for the 8th time in his playoff career. Kobe, Bron, Durant, and Jordan combined did that twice in their playoff careers.
Wow.
So Harden is tied for Bob Cousy for the most in the shot clock era games of shooting south of 20%, as per Kirk Goldberry from the bubble. And I'm sure that number went higher up this last postseason. Next guy up, Khris Middleton. My expectation is the Milwaukee Bucks are a little bit afraid about the repeater tax, but they want to run this back. I think Middleton gets a 3-year deal worth somewhere around the same ballpark as Harden.
So you think he's resigning for less money?
I don't know if there's going to be a guaranteed 4th season because of his injuries.
No, I mean, like, because he was scheduled to make $40 million if he accepted. Is he getting $40 million this year? Do you expect less?
Yeah, I think it'll be front loaded. So maybe in the first 2 years he gets 40, and then it starts to decrease later on to like 32. So yeah, maybe.
Okay.
But not.
Yeah, like I said with Romaine, you usually don't see players re-signing for less money when they can get more money.
But sometimes want the guaranteed years too.
Yeah, it's just, and also the front loading thing, you don't usually see front loads either. You usually see the back load so that they can move the money around later on, and then they can make their,
But the Bucks are in a unique position. Long term, you get into the repeater tax, and shit, you're taxed like $4 for every
Well,
like,
yeah, that's why I was saying
years.
early. That's why I said like 2 years ago that I think while they won a championship, I think that there's a question to be had that they need to fix the core of the Milwaukee Bucks, where it's Giannis is the best guy, but the guys around him, you're spending a lot of money there, and they're not as good as you really think that they are. If I'm going to be honest with you, I expect Middleton back in Milwaukee. With all that being said. But
Yeah,
I'd love for them to move on from Holiday and Middleton and possibly get another star or superstar to put with Giannis. I don't know who that is, but
Luck.
See, that's the thing. I get what you mean, but those two have already showed you that they complement Giannis's game so well. Why move on from that? I mean, I guess Middleton's injury concerns, fine, but at the same time, I think Middleton and the Bucks are, if maybe not expecting as much volume out of him because of the injuries, but I think he stays with the Bucks. I think he's perfect there. I can't see him going anywhere else, really. I don't think Giannis would want him going anywhere else.
No, he's the perfect fit, and he played well this postseason. I'm just worried about him missing time. The next guy up on our list is going to be his teammate, Brook Lopez. I think it's a similar story. Brook's got to stay here. If he leaves, then it becomes a less enticing team for Giannis to stay. So I think Lopez gets a 3-year deal, age 35. I'm talking 17, 18 million a year. So 3 years, 54 mil.
they're.
Man.
I just don't know how this team stays together. I really.
I do see Brook staying with the Bucks though. After coming off of a year where he probably could have won defensive
He had a
player.
career year, yeah.
Yeah, I think he stays there. But 3 years, he's 35 years old. At the end of it, he'll be 38. That's tough because you just never know how. These are long seasons, and the older you get, the bigger you are. Yeah, just like that 3-year deal that seems like you got a bargain. It's gonna strap you.
That's what I'm saying about like I love Giannis and I love the competitive nature, and he's going to make almost any team he's on a I wouldn't want to say a contender, but he's going to give them one of the best chances they can have. And this unit is starting to decline rapidly, and if you don't move on, you are going to be stuck. And that's all I'm saying is they really need to explore their options of what the hell can they go get. There's a guy out there. He's younger. Don't know what to have to give up. A Zach LaVine. So I'm just throwing something out there where you gotta mix it up. In my opinion, in this, I understand it. It's just, are they going to be there?
LaVine makes more money than Middleton, so now that even becomes harder to maintain.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I know. But you would obviously, you'd make moves. You'd get rid of Middleton and somebody else probably for him. But what I'm saying is with this currently constructed and they re-sign Middleton and Lopez, will this team still be a top 4, top 3 team in the East? Yeah. But they're struggling to keep up. Just like my Miami Heat are also struggling to keep up as well. You got to make moves. Boston's making moves. You got to make moves.
That's the price of winning, isn't it? Like, this is going to happen to every team. The Bucks have no young talent outside. Andre Jackson, who they just took at a UConn. You'll like him, Brandon. And then Marjon Beauchamp. But, hey, like, you look at the Bulls after Jordan, the Heat after LeBron, which a couple of rough years.
After.
That's sort of not really.
Yeah, but, John, this is the middle. This is in the middle. They're not. Giannis is still here. He's in his prime. We need to do this. Is not after. Yeah. We need to, you got to move now. How old? Middleton's 33, 34. Holidays, no?
Well, he's got the knees of a 45-year-old, but Middleton's only 30, 31.
31. Okay. I thought they were older.
This is a team that should be going all in on Dame.
That's what they
what
could
assets?
Be a contender. A sign and trade of like Drew Holiday, Middleton.
You can't do a sign and trade with somebody who's got 5 years left of his contract. It's got to be a free agent. So, if a sign and trade is when a guy's in free agency and you're looking to sign him, but you're giving the team salary so you can take on that deal. So it's the Heat getting Kyle Lowry or the Bulls getting DeMar DeRozan, and they're giving that team that's losing the player something opposed to losing him for nothing. Yeah. So like a Dame sign trade is not possible until like 2027 or 2028. In this scenario,
Bucks, sign with Khris Middleton because he's a free agent.
That just breaks my brain. I don't know why the Blazers would want a 31-year-old Khris Middleton.
because they're not looking to contend for a championship right now.
Right, but that's the main asset you're getting for Dame with like.
Well, no, Drew Holiday as well.
first-round picks.
It'd be a combination. I
You're
understand.
trading
John,
both of those stars for Dame.
This
Good
is not.
luck.
Yeah, this is not. This
Good
is
luck.
not like you're not like you. You're falling into it. You're not getting equal or better value for Damian Lillard. You're never getting that for a superstar, star level player. You have to take the best you can get. And this is all again on the hypothetical that Dame is asking out. We're just going hypothetically. He hasn't asked for Milwaukee. Justin just said Milwaukee should be a team that should be looking to get. And I'm just giving you ideas for them to try and make that move happen. Is it going to happen? Probably not.
Next player up, and this is one that's been shouted out in the comments, Kyle Kuzma. Could he potentially be going to one of these contending teams? My prediction is he is signing in Sacramento, who opened up $30 million in cap space if they don't bring back Harrison Barnes. They almost traded for him 2 years ago. It feels like he is that small forward. He brings a little bit more than Barnes.
That sounds like a pretty good swap there. Yeah. Kuzma's not a life changer. He's a good, solid role player.
I'm a big Kyle Kuzma fan. I don't know. I just like the way he plays. He's very loose. His personality's fun, and I think he'll mesh with whatever franchise he ends up in. And plus, he took some steps in Washington.
He did. And no pressure.
Yeah, he took a lot of steps, and that played a big part, playing in a place with no pressure. Let's see if he's ready for the big show. So I could see him signing with a contender. Sacramento would be a perfect fit. Who else would the Clippers go after him? Probably not. I mean, PG is in some trade rumors, so you never know. But there's a lot of teams out there.
Houston?
I said contenders.
Speaking of contenders, this is the perfect one. Cam Johnson, elite shooter, 6'8", 27 years old. He is a restricted free agent. I'm thinking a lot of teams out there are going to give him $105, $110 million, like legitimate $27 million per year contracts. And the Nets are going to have to match your monster deal. My expectation is Cam is staying in Brooklyn, but man, he is going to get we're talking nearly $30 million maybe, because that's the new price for good starters today.
Yeah. For Cam Johnson, I expect, like you said, back in Brooklyn, or he's going to be on a team that is one of the bottom tier teams that offers him a boatload of money.
Honestly, he's a guy that I would love to have on the Knicks, especially just having a shooter like that.
You can't afford him.
And in the corner. Yeah, I know we can. but we can make moves. But I can't see him leaving Brooklyn either. I think Brooklyn is going to hold on to him. Phoenix really is in a tough spot right now. They wish they had Cam Johnson during that playoff run.
Nah, they don't wish. They put what they have on them right now.
You're telling me that they didn't. If they could have held on to Cam Johnson and also played with KD and
well, yeah. If you could have your cake and eat it too, that'd be great. But if you can't have that,
no, absolutely. But I'm just saying, I think they would have loved to have a Cam Johnson down the stretch.
Matt Ishbia made his bed and he's got a lie in it. He wanted the super team. He wanted the three guys, and now he's got the three guys.
Now he's got real deal Bill.
He pushed it through the finish line, so they couldn't even get back a Finney Smith in return for Cam. You know, Justin, I think the Knicks actually, they could be a free agent player, because Derrick Rose had his team option declined, $15 million. That takes their payroll from 164.
You're so lucky, Justin.
To 149. But now Evan Fournier has got 1 year plus a team option and next season. If they can move off that $20 million, you're looking at that Knicks payroll and saying to yourself, oh, wait a second. They actually could be a potential team, a sneaky team here in free agency, because, well, actually not really. RJ's max is kicking in this year. So it's going to be $140 in payroll. So maybe not, but it would open up the taxpayer if they'd have to let Hart go is the thing. And he has a player option for $12 million. I'm expecting him to decline that because of how well he played in the regular season. In the playoffs, well, we don't got to talk about that Miami series.
And I really see the Knicks rolling with the same team, honestly, out there. Unless there's a superstar out there that we can trade for. The only star that I could really see the Knicks being in conversations for is Zion.
You want that?
I don't know if I want it, but it's definitely something to entertain. And you'd be a fool not to entertain it.
There's a lot of entertaining going on with Zion Williamson.
Yes.
Yes.
Too much is not on the court, unfortunately.
I'll be here all
Next
night.
player up, Fred VanVleet. He is a guy that I think is very possible to be a potentially a Los Angeles Laker. My expectation is the Rockets are going to sign Fred VanVleet for 4 years, $105 million, and he is going to be the veteran they need. And I love that fit a lot from a shooting, spacing, and leadership/defensive perspective. I think it would be a very good six-man that even in time can start in a pinch.
Man, that's what I'm gonna call him. FVV. Why are we wishing this on players, John? Why do we keep saying Houston? I'm sorry, but like, why do we keep wishing these?
Because they have $16 million.
I know they're gonna sign somebody, but if it's about Fred VanVleet, I won't. For Fred VanVleet, if it's about the money, yeah, go to Houston. If it's about you want to win another championship, he's already got a ring. I forgot about that. If he wants to do that again, there's much better options. Like John said, the Lakers would be a great option. There's options out there for him. So
I don't know what's the love affair with Fred VanVleet. It just never hit me.
He's not this superstar, Justin. He's a good player who can provide great minutes.
I've never been appealed by him. But anyways, if I'm gonna pick a spot, maybe why not to bring a vet in with a young up and coming superstar? Why not a team like San Antonio? Go after a point guard, pair him with Wemby. I don't think that's a bad spot.
There you go.
That is a pretty good spot.
It's a good shout.
Is that a bad spot? Done.
They just need more of a playmaker, and he's not much of a distributor. He's more of the off-ball movement shooter type. He's also turning 30 years old soon, too. But he's got to get it back. He was an undrafted player, and this is going to be the opportunity for him. Now, the next player up is one that I was right on, of course, D'Angelo Russell. Playoff liability, but he actually showed himself in the first round versus the Grizzlies where he played a pretty big role. Second round versus the Warriors, yeah, it wasn't. It was up and down. Third round versus Nuggets was, this guy can't play. He was on a max contract. How much money is D'Angelo Russell worth? And also, is he going to be a Laker next year, so they'd look to move off of him? Or is he just too sound of a regular season guard to move on from?
Well, if they want Kyrie, you're not bringing back D'Lo, so can't make that.
I don't think they're bringing back D'Lo regardless of if they get Kyrie or not. He's going to go to a team that is not going to be winning very much. You ask how much he's worth. What did he make? $30 million last year. He's going to get less than that, but he's probably going to get more than $20 million a year. So
yeah, I can see him going to a place with no pressure. I'll throw a franchise out there. We're talking about Fred VanVleet. They're losing him. Why not go to Toronto?
Does he want
That's good because they don't make the playoffs. You want to get exposed. I like that fit.
Then he's got to go to Canada.
Also, the Lakers just drafted. Good point, AJ in the comments. They just drafted Jalen Hood-Schifino out of Indiana with the 17th pick. That could just be the replacement. He's also a rookie though. He's 19 years old. I think D'Angelo Russell stays personally. I think they sign him for like $16 million a year. I don't think they get Kyrie. I don't expect them to sign VanVleet. And hey, look, D'Lo's going to be a good regular season guard, man. You guys are hyping him up, saying he can be that third piece. I thought it was Austin Reeves. Of course, it is Austin Reeves, but if it's a fourth piece, yeah, that's fine. You're going to have to really prioritize though extending Austin. What
about they got Scottie Pippen Jr., right?
Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna make it though.
No,
we'll see. We'll see.
They're speaking on him.
Next player up is Austin Reeves. Should he be pried away from a team like the Magic? He's a restricted free agent. So wait a second. Let me double check this because I'm not entirely sure if he's restricted.
He is restricted. I saw they offered the qualifying offer, extended it to Hachi and Reeves, making them restricted.
Okay, thank you.
I expect him to stay in Los. All signs point to Los Angeles doing everything in their power to keeping him.
Yeah, I can't see him moving on from LA. I think he had such a resurgence this year. You better stay put, play with LeBron, play with AD, go run it back.
They learned from their mistake. They're learning from their mistake of Alex Caruso.
Yeah, and not only that, but Reeves is the perfect connector. You fit so well with Bron AD. You lose him, now you're going to have a tough time filling out a closing rotation in a playoff crucible. This is a guy that averaged 20 points in the conference finals, his first ever one, on efficient shooting, good defense, good playmaker. There's nothing else Reeves can't do. And I'm really happy people are accepting, hey, look, he can be on a contender. a top 3 starter. It's really cool to see for an undrafted player like VanVleet, though he was more the 4th best player on that Raptors team. I think we're down to our last name, and that is Russell. Oh, no, we've actually got one more after him. Is Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, I expect him. I've been saying I want him back in a Clippers uniform. I think he fits perfectly with them. I loved what I saw last year. And one thing that the Clippers have struggled with over their years, like John said, has been their 2 main guys staying healthy. One thing you don't have to worry about with Russell Westbrook is him not missing time. He's usually on the court every single game, and he's giving you everything he's got. So I expect him back in. He loves LA. That's where he's from. He wants to be there. It's not going to be. It's not going to be in a Lakers uniform. Didn't work. I expect him back in the Clippers uniform.
I love the revelation for Brandon. When they acquired Russell Westbrook, he hated it, and here he is wanting him back. Yeah, I see him going back to LA
because they can win a chip.
No, they're not.
They're healthy.
Yeah, definitely not. But he puts a lot of pressure on the rim. They don't have that. So we've got Draymond Green up next. Is he going back to Golden State? Because we're seeing rumors the Pistons, they're really loading up on shooting. They want to pair up 2 non-shooting bigs with their young backcourt. Could he leave Golden State here, or is Draymond just using that more as leverage in the
Didn't Dray play in Michigan too? If I'm not mistaken.
State, yeah, he missed it. Yeah. He's not leaving. Can I say it any clearer? He's not going anywhere.
Okay. And the last player up is Jeremy Grant from the Portland Trail Blazers. He declined a 4-year contract worth $112 million because, well, he is eligible for more money. Is he going to stay in Portland? Is he going to maybe go to a Detroit? That's a team with a lot of cap space.
Detroit?
Where's the move? He's coming off a year he averaged an efficient 20 points per game, and his positional utility is a premium in today's day and age.
Listen, if Dame wants to even at least make a playoff push, you don't get rid of Jeremy Grant. He did his thing last year. I think you got to hold on to him.
What's so funny about that?
It was a complimentary piece. What are you going to do?
Complimentary piece. You can find a player like that.
But
I expect the Portland Trail Blazers have said they're committed to Dame, whatever the f that means. I don't. What a non-answer after that meeting. Yeah, they're going to do everything in their power to try and convince Dame that they're not rebuilding, even though it's freaking clear as day that they are goddamn rebuilding, and they're going to re-sign Jeremy Grant.
You know what? I think the Heat are re-signing Jeremy Grant, and they're trading Anthony Simons. Because, look.
You mean the Trailblazers are re-signing? Or
what do I call them?
The Heat.
I think the Trailblazers are re-signing Jeremy Grant, and they're trading Anthony Simons to a team potentially like the Miami Heat here.
No.
The thing is, you're going to need a lot of assets for Anthony K, the young star of a guard. But you've got Shaden and Scoot, and there's only so many. They've got 4 stars potentially in this backcourt. One is 32, another's 20. There's one that's 24, and there's another that's 19. So I'm expecting them to make a move, but I don't think it's moving off of course.
A commenter just said AJ DeMar for Simmons or Simons.
Simons?
Is it Simmons or Simons?
DeMar DeRozan for Anthony Simons, I love. That would be perfect for a Bulls team that Lonzo Ball may not return. Again, and pairing up Simons with Zach LaVine would be probably one of the league's 2 best shooting backcourts. At the same time, you get to move off DeRozan, who's 33, and personally, if I were Joe Cronin, I wouldn't make that move because, Anthony, he's worth more than a 34-year-old soon to be. But that makes a lot of sense to get that forward in here who can really create more.
Dame just better. I mean, I don't freaking want to talk about it anymore. It's just so disappointing and irritating and angering.
It's not irritating.
It's so irritating.
We try to warn you. For all of the listeners out there, we have warned Brandon for a year. Damian Lillard is not leaving. Unless the Trailblazers forcefully force him to. And now
I just brought it up a month ago. I was not calling for Dame to come to Miami.
Just not at the pull up the very animated and emotional BC a year ago when Dame, for like the 4th time, faked his trade request and then said, I'm coming back.
He says words, and you're like, okay, he's saying words. I'm going to take him for his word, and then he apparently is a fucking liar. So.
He's not a liar. He's just doing too many interviews.
No, apparently he's a liar.
Doing too many interviews.
So that's going to wrap up this portion of the set show. Now we're going to close it. I don't know if we'll have time for NFL topic, but we will be discussing the top 10 shooting guards in the NBA. And I've I've got a hot take. Okay, I know some people aren't going to appreciate this.
Bring it hot.
Maybe it's my number 2. So maybe I should wait until I get there. I'll give you guys my list right now. So honorable mentions for this list. I have a lot of young guards. I have Jaden Ivey of the Pistons, Shaedon Sharpe of the Trailblazers, Benedict Mathurin of the Pacers, Quentin Grimes of the Knicks because he's so complimentary. And then I wrap things up with let me pull it up. Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole is right outside of my top 10. Starting my top 10, I have at the end of this, we're going to read off our lists for TikTok and stuff like that. At number 10 for my top 10 shooting guards, Derek White. Best year of his career. One of the best defensive players who can protect the rim, but also shot damn near 40% from downtown. In the Hawks series, lit the world on fire. Right above him, we've got Klay Thompson. He's fallen. He is, I don't know if he'll be here in a year, but for now, I'm grandfathering him into a CJ McCollum at number 8. McCollum just had a thumb injury, did not play well this last year, but these are two McCollum's their main all-star team. These are two 20-point per game scorers for the better part of the last 7-10 years. I'm going to respect them given their utility. Number 7, number 8. My apologies. I'm all over the place. Wait.
I think you're at 7. You're at 7.
Yeah, so 8, I got CJ. Sorry. 7, I've got Desmond Bane of the Grizzlies. I think he's the perfect number 3. I don't think he's a number 2 scorer, but he's a decent defender, elite shooter, very much a $120 million guy. Number 6, I've got Zach LaVine. If it weren't for the injury issues, I would have him in my top 4. Unfortunately, the guy can't stay healthy for a full year. And we've seen this since 2021. He is an elite scorer, but I do worry about his feel for the game, average defender at best. Number 5, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. I've got Bradley Beal above Zach LaVine. Similar story, but he's a better playmaker, equals all-around scorer. There's more craft and passing in his game. He's also a better defender than Zach. So I have him comfortably ahead. Number 4, I have Jaylen Brown. That's the feel for the game and vision. I think Brown is pretty much the perfect forward, but he's also regressed defensively. And so I kind of thought about putting Bradley Beal ahead of him. Number 3, I've got Donovan Mitchell. And ahead of Donovan Mitchell, I have Anthony Edwards. I think Ant-Man is the second best shooting guard in the league. You look at what you want in a 2. You want someone that's versatile and can't be exploited. Mitchell, for multiple postseason runs, has been attacked defensively. With Ant-Man, he's 5 inches taller than a Donovan Mitchell, but he's got better playmaking than a Jaylen Brown. He's also a guy that in multiple playoff runs now has completely torched defenses. And the Nuggets, let's be honest, they shut down Jimmy Butler, but outside of him and Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards was the second toughest player they had to defend this postseason. He is so complete of a guard. And if he can continue getting better as a playmaker, where he averaged 5 assists in the playoffs, I think in a non-Devin Booker world, this is the best shooting guard in the league. He is so good. He's 21 years old. He's not turning 22 until August. So you look at what he's done already in the NBA, helping carry this Minnesota team to the playoffs this last year, and I had to give him more respect. If he's not top 2 already, he damn sure will be in a year from now.
Wait a tick. What?
And number 1 is Devin Booker.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
No, I mean, maybe I have them in different positions, I guess. You don't have, Paul George is not a shooting guard to you?
I have SGA also in my shooting guard list.
Oh, okay.
I put in my point guards. You were with us for the point guards, though, weren't you?
He wasn't. Romain was.
My fault. That's on me. Yeah, I had.
Okay, I have Paul George as a shooting guard.
Okay.
Yeah. I also have Khris Middleton as a shooting guard as well. But I guess that's fine. Pick your poison. All right, so I'll go. Number 10, I have CJ McCollum. Right outside of that, my honorable mentions like John, Tyler Hero, Josh Giddey, Austin Reeves, Desmond Bane, Tyrese Maxey are in that category for me. So 10, CJ. Number 9, I got Khris Middleton. 8, I got Klay. 7, Zach LaVine. 6, Bradley Beal. Then we go into like that upper echelon guys. Give my nod. Number 5, I got Anthony Edwards. I can expect him. I can see him taking a bigger jump like John has him at number 2. That's a bigger jump. The rest of my guys in front of them are all playoff proven. He is not so much yet. he's still young. Like, would you say he's 21 still?
He is so far.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't won a series, so
Is that on him?
I mean, if you're the best player on that's what I'm saying. So, like, you want to be in this category, John. You are the guy. So, yes, it is kind of on him at the end of the day. Number 4, I got Donovan Mitchell. Number 3, Jaylen Brown. 2, Paul George. And then number 1 is Devin Booker. He's the consensus best shooting guard in the league.
Okay. So I also have James Harden listed as a shooting guard.
Okay. Well, where have you been, John? I mean, Justin. He's been playing point guard.
He's been playing point guard, but he's been a shooting guard for a large portion of his career. Just not too long ago.
We're doing this. I know Brandon had Clay above Desmond Bane, but we're doing this right now. 2023. But you get
Clay is better than Desmond Bane.
So I'll remove,
he does nothing better than Desmond Bane.
I'll remove James Harden out of my top 10. So I'll take him out. And that actually opens a spot for somebody that I left out of my top 10. I'm sorry, Brandon, but I'll put Clay at 10. So Clay was initially off of my list more so because of the injuries. He's just aging, didn't look the same in the postseason. So but I'll throw Clay at 10. I'll throw CJ McCollum at 9. I got Zach LaVine at 8. Middleton at 7. Now I know the injuries are still there, but still Middleton is a baller, so I'm gonna go Middleton at 7. And then at 6, I have Bradley Beal. I think Bradley Beal is a fantastic scorer. Does he move the needle for me in certain aspects of the game? No, absolutely not, but he knows how to light it up. So I'll go Bradley Beal. At number 5, I already told you guys who I had on my shooting guard list, SGA. I know some of you guys consider him a point guard, but he's more of a pure scorer than he is a pure passer, so I'm going to go with him as a shooting guard. 30-plus points per game, all-star appearance. What he's doing for the Oklahoma City Thunder right now is fantastic. I think this team's on the verge to make a big jump. At number 4, I have the closest thing to Jordan mentality that we see on the floor today, and that is the Ant-Man. While I'm not ready to throw him at number 2, I do think that what he can do for the Timberwolves, their ceiling is so high. As they just got to worry about everything else. Ant-Man and what he's doing, he's averaging, I think, 24 points per game. I think by next year he might be averaging close to 30 at his pace. So I think he's an absolute monster, and I can't wait to see him more on the biggest stage going deeper in the postseason. At number 3, I got Jaylen Brown. Now, this is a guy that I'm so iffy about. So one day he's on, one day he's off. Last year, we're talking about him as possibly being better than Tatum, and now this year, Tatum clears him. So it's a slippery slope with him, but I like Jaylen Brown at number 3. At number 2, I got to go with the Spider. I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell. Going to Cleveland, I think he had a career high in points per game, too. Also shot very well from the field at that pace, and he leads Cleveland to the postseason. So I'm going to go Donovan Mitchell at number 2. And the clear consensus, number 1, I mean, this guy, Devin Booker, elevated his game to new heights in the postseason, averaging 33-plus points per game. The guy was an absolute monster, shooting over 50% from the field in the postseason. I mean, there's no debate on who to go for.
Closest thing to Kobe since Kobe?
You know, I can't think of anybody else who's more similar, but I think Kevin Durant's the closest thing to Kobe, actually. And D-Book.
I would. I don't no. Mentality wise, nah. I just.
Well, I'm talking from a play style element.
Oh, okay.
Kevin Durant's game is very much versatile. It's tough shot making. It's out the posts. Kobe wasn't as much of a volume shooter as KD is now. But yeah, I think Kevin Durant's the closest thing to Kobe. And Booker, Booker's player comp is Kobe, but I don't know if he's really like that. Maybe I'd rock with a little bit of Paul Pierce and Kobe mixed into one another, but he's just way more quick than the two of those guys. He's more shifty. Yeah. And I think he's just a better athlete than those two. I'd take not as a leaper. He's not more athletic than Kobe, but he's quicker and he accelerates faster than Kobe, especially off the catch. Because Kobe was like one and shit in the dunk contest. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. But in terms of the speed and the pace they play at, he plays at the fastest. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I do want to say one thing here. Well, I actually want to say a couple of things. You said before, Anthony Edwards, it may not be him, the reason why the Timberwolves aren't going anywhere in the playoffs, but like It's not him. It's the fact they've been a total disaster. Their best defender's breaking his hand, Amari Stoudemire style. Donovan Mitchell, since 2020, has done nothing in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, to me, if you're going to talk about, hey, look, your team hasn't won anywhere, and if you're the star, that has to fall on you. I think that is where he used that reasoning for him, but not Ant-Man. Ant-Man's been better than Donovan. And I know he came in on fire, but what have he done the last 3 years? Like, this is him getting outplayed thoroughly.
Was it Donovan Mitchell's fault that Mitchell Robinson was making Jared Allen and Evan Mobley his what?
Donovan, he plateaued.
I get that, but I feel like the game was won and lost right under the rim with Mitchell Robinson absolutely dominating Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Both those guys looked like us three out there.
Sure.
They were weak in the backside. They didn't have the girth to compete with Mitchell Robinson.
But Donovan's a guy jacking up 9 3 balls a game.
He also
24% on those looks at the same exact time. Defensively, he's getting beat at the point of attack when he's healthy and when he's not healthy. So I agree with you on that point. Mitchell Robinson was the biggest difference maker in that series. But when we're talking about this level of star talent, if you're that guy, you overcome Mitchell Robinson's offensive rebounding. That is not what defines your team's playoff success. The fact that the opposing team's fifth starter got 4 offensive rebounds a game. What defines it is that you're the best player on the floor. And in no game this last postseason is he the best player on the floor.
Yeah, but quite frankly, nobody on Cleveland actually showed up. So,
Garland played better in his first ever playoff.
Garland was also very inconsistent. Where you're going to give him 2 games that he actually was shooting the ball,
Outside of game 1, though, and he did drop 38 in game 1, so I want to be a little bit more fair to him. Mitchell was terrible.
No, see, listen, both like Donovan Mitchell, and Edwards are 4 and 5 for me. Like I have them right then and there. Both these guys are guys who can jump a Brown and Paul George because they're being asked to be the guy. And Paul George and Jaylen Brown at this point in Paul George's career, he's being asked to be the second guy. Paul George, we know 10 years ago, was asked to be the guy, and he was taking his team to the Eastern Conference Finals by as the guy. And that's not something Donovan Mitchell or Ant have done either. So,
who is the league's most overrated player? Stick with the shooting guards. I think it's Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson to me is kind of living off the name value a little bit. And so in this category, I'm like, hey, look, I don't have Desmond Bane here. But if we're talking the entire league, I think the most overrated player would be Joel Embiid. I think it's Joel. This is the first MVP that's ever made it to the conference finals. And I don't have him in my top 5. I don't have him in my top 7 because the best teams ever beaten the playoffs is the 2022 Raptors. So I don't think many people have him in their top 4, but there were some people before this playoff run that did.
There are people who freaking love Joel Embiid. There's still people who think that Joel Embiid they take him over Nikola Jokic. Not saying they're right. They're right. Yes, there are still people who prefer Joel Embiid's game over Nikola Jokic's game. There are.
Yeah, and that's why they're probably Sixers fans that haven't seen their team touch the conference finals in 25 years. Outside of Embiid, who else would you guys have?
Well, like I said, 2 times, James Harden is the most overrated player.
Outside of Harden.
I think in history, to be honest with you.
I think that's fair.
Just right now, then.
Julius Randle. That's easy.
I'd say Anthony Davis to me is overrated.
Oh, well, why?
I'm telling you, I think he's too inconsistent. I think for what you expect out of the guy, for him to show up only on odd games? No, come on.
Justin, you know what? You really are onto something because this guy was, his talent speaks top 5 and he is, not even cracking people's top 10 right now. It's like, and yes, it has to do with injury too, but that's also, don't
get me wrong. He always brings it on the defensive side of the floor, but you expect so much more out of him. Like I said, offensively, this is supposed to be his team. Where are you?
If you are a 20 and 10 guy or the best defender in the West or the second best after Draymond Green, that's a top 10 player, top 12. He's worthy of a top 10 selection. But here's the thing. I think guys like Randle and DeRozan, Embiid's another one, if you have no playoff resume whatsoever, you haven't beat anybody, you haven't performed well, and you've been the reason why your team hasn't won anywhere, I do think you're one of those guys. So I'm not going to be like, let's pull up a random role player. I'm not going to say Malcolm Brogdon's overrated, let's say. Or what's another one? Help me out here. What's a role player that's a little bit too praised? I'm not going to say Alex Caruso's overrated because those are, smaller pieces of the machine. But the big picture guys that always get propped up at that top tier level, or maybe a level above where they really are, and then they shit the bed every year in the playoffs, like Randall, historically, or DeRozan. Those are the guys I'm very critical of. I'm waiting for you to do something that actually matches your regular season resume in the playoffs. So.
Randall's played in how many playoff series in his career? Three. He's 1-2.
Oh, don't do that.
I mean, I don't know. I just feel like
but his performances are.
I understand that, but like I said,
I don't think you understand.
You guys are so critical off of. These are three postseason appearances. He executed and showed up. He wasn't perfect against Cleveland, but he had some days against Miami. But he was rough. I get it. It's fine, but. To be as critical as you guys are of his playoff performances, I think you guys are just being a little too hard.
Are we? What does he shoot for his career in the playoffs?
I don't have really, but you're 100%
right. 34%. Bob Cousy shot better than that in 1956.
I'm not knocking his playoff performances. I just think that you guys are so set on because of this is how he's always going to be in the postseason. No,
because we're giving him all NBA nods above Jimmy Butler. That's why I'm critical of him, because we talk about Nick Wright saying Nurkic got no playoff resume. This guy,
he had an all NBA regular season.
He can't even shoot 40% from the field, and he's getting all NBA nods over players who are so much better than him. It is not even funny. It is not even. It's ridiculous. The fact this guy just goes in the New York market and he averages 25 points per game, gets put at a level he's never belonged. Look, I like Randall. I love the story, him overcoming that stress fracture in year one, but I think he just gets way overhyped because, look, it's Brunson's team. It was not Randall's. And when you look at him shooting 29%, 32% in playoff series with terrible shot selection, awful attitude, and even worse, let's completely coin on his team moments, bad defense. What does he bring for me in the biggest moments? That's why I think I'm fairly critical.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay. Listen. We've had this argument way too many times. We can move on. It is what it is. I want to do some trivia.
Okay, let's do some trivia.
I want to do trivia
about Julius Randle.
And since Justin hasn't been here, I'm going to hit him with the first one, John. All right, because he's been out on trivia. Now let's see. I got a couple for Justin. Okay.
Sorry, real quick. I want you guys to reread your top 10 shooting guard list, just like 1 through 10, no analysis. Wise Guys Podcast. These are our top 10 shooting guards in 2023. For me at number 10, Derek White. Number 9, Klay Thompson. Number 8, CJ McCollum. Number 7, Desmond Bane. Number 6, Zach LaVine. Gotta show some respect. The guy's a little bit underrated. Number 5, very underrated, Bradley Beal. Number 4, I've got Jaylen Brown. Number 3, Donovan Mitchell. Number 2, Anthony Edwards. And number 1, Devin Booker.
Hey, you want me to go? Just okay. Where's my list? Okay. Top 10 shooting guards in the league. Number 1, Devin Booker. 2, Paul George. 3, Jaylen Brown. 4, Donovan Mitchell. 5, Anthony Edwards. 6, Bradley Beal. 7, Zach LaVine. 8, Klay Thompson. 9, Khris Middleton. And number 10 rounded out, CJ McCollum.
Okay, and I got consensus number 1, D Book. Number 2, Spider. Number 3, Jaylen Brown. Number 4, the Ant-Man. Number 5, SGA. Number 6, Bradley Beal. Number 7, Khris Middleton. Number 8, Zach LaVine. Number 9, CJ McCollum. And number 10, Klay Thompson.
And before we dive further into the show, if you haven't already, drop a like on the stream if you're enjoying. Of course, follow the Twitters as well, where we post consistently. Your boy John over here, I had this one graphic I want to show you guys. It was building the worst NBA player. And Justin, I want to get your take on it real quick because I had Julius Randle on here for one category.
Okay.
But you know what? Actually, Brandon, let's do your first trivia question while I'm pulling it up.
All right. I'm gonna find the damn page now for it.
What sport is this?
I'm trying to give you baseball right now, but now I can't find the first one, so I'm gonna go to the second one.
In the meantime, Justin, why does New York baseball always disappoint like every single year? What's up with that trend?
Yeah, honestly, there's no answer for me. The Mets spent a ton of money, so they could afford all the good players, and they got a ton of them too. But they also paid for a lot of old pitching. Max Scherzer's late 30s, Justin Verlander's pushing 40.
Yeah.
That's not a recipe for success long term, I'll tell you that much.
But didn't Verlander just win Cy Young?
Yeah, for the Astros.
Aaron Rodgers style, okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's an absolute stud, but he's coming off an injury, so it just takes a little time. But the Mets are, I think, I'd like to say, well over 10 games back of first place. I think I can come closer to 17 games back from first place. Yeah, the Braves are running the show.
Okay, so Justin Ray.
Brandon Capozziello.
Yeah, you said it bad. Okay. All right. Can you name
I pronounced that.
the 13 player? Don't interrupt me when I am giving my introduction. Okay. All right. Let me have this moment. Give me my moment.
Let me hear something.
Justin, can you name the 13 players who have hit the most grand slams in Major League Baseball history?
Number one, I believe, is Alex Rodriguez.
You know how many he's hit?
Is it about 20, 23?
25. Okay.
25? Okay.
Just to give you like a barometer.
Manny Ramirez is up there. I think he's in the top 3 or top 4.
Manny Ramirez is number 3 with 21.
Okay. Who did Alex Rodriguez pass on that list? It's not Joe DiMaggio. So is it Joe DiMaggio?
Is that your guess?
Yeah.
No.
Lou Gehrig?
Lou Gehrig is number 2 with 23. Joe DiMaggio is not even on the list.
Okay, yeah. I knew it was an old-time Yankee on that list. Is Barry Bonds on that list?
Barry Bonds is not on the list.
Wow, he's not in the top 13. That's insane. David Ortiz.
David Ortiz is not on the list.
Holy shit. Yeah, every time you guys do these baseball things, you guys make me look like a piece of crap. Top 13, Rafael Palmeiro.
He's not on the list.
Is Mark McGwire on the list?
There's no Mark on the list.
There's no Jason Giambi.
No Jason Giambi. Justin,
you gotta be kidding me.
There's a couple of big names. There's 2 big names. Even
Albert Pujols.
Yes, he's got 16.
16. Said a couple of big names. So there's a couple of low tier names too.
There are two names that even I know. I've heard of. One of them is very well known.
Let's go, Justin. Come on, we got lock in, boy.
It's Miguel Cabrera on the list.
Miguel Cabrera's not on the list.
Got it.
So what numbers are we missing, Bram?
We're missing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Whew.
That's a lot. Can I tap in my partner, John?
If John wants to give a guess, go ahead, because it seems like Justin's swinging and I'm missing right now.
I've swung and missed a lot this year.
Can't hear you, John.
Can you repeat the criteria?
We got Alex Rodriguez, Lou Gehrig, Manny Ramirez. Those are the top 3. And then Albert. Say it again, Justin's last name.
Albert Pujols.
That's our guy.
That's 16.
It's a 3-time MVP. What's the criteria for the question?
Is that the top 4, Brandon? Was that the top 4?
The top 3 are Rodriguez, Gehrig, and Ramirez, 25, 23, 21. Pujols got 16. There's 3 people who have 16 with him. There's 3 with 17, 2 with 18, and 1 with 19.
So what's the question?
It's who is name the top 13 players who have hit the most grand slams in MLB history.
Gotcha. We're gonna have to put a timer on these segments of like 4 minutes, by the way. So I'm gonna put a timer on for 2 minutes now.
Okay.
Let's go. You got 4 already. There's 2 big names. Like
2 big names.
I mean, there's 1 massive name.
Sammy Sosa.
No.
Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron's on the list with 16.
Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth's on the list with 16. There's only
Well,
one left
again.
with 16. The rest of these people I've never heard of. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I'm gonna say Jim Tomey.
No Jim Toney.
No Jim Tomey. Wow, this is a rough list, man. Shit. I might tap out. John's not helping out here.
Yeah, I don't even know if you'll get these names. I don't think John's gonna get these names if Justin's not. Tapping out, Justin?
You have to give him a couple of hints. All right.
I don't even know these guys.
Right.
You could give me team names.
Orioles.
Yeah,
Just
one of them
Orioles.
played for the Orioles for a very long time. 8-time All-Star, World Series champion.
Played
Hall of
for the
Famer.
Cal Ripken?
No.
He's not a champ though. Played for the Orioles, 8-time All-Star. Miguel Tejado's on the list.
Miguel's not on the list. I don't think Justin's going to get
I
this.
said Rafael Palmeiro.
One of these guys.
Not Brooks Robinson. Brooks Robinson's like what happened? What happened, John?
One of these guys.
I stumped Justin. All right, I'm just going to give Justin these names because he's not getting a list. We're going to cut it here. Number 4, Eddie Murray with 19. 5,
That's the Oriole. Okay.
Willie McCovey with 18.
Willie McCovey.
Yep. Robin Ventura with 18.
Wow, really?
Yeah, Jimmy Fox with 17.
Oh, we take it
Carlos
back.
Lee with 17.
Get out.
Ted Williams with 17. And Dave Kingman with 16.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten Dave Kingman. Definitely wouldn't have gotten Carlos Lee. I wouldn't have expected that. Wow. Shit, good job, Brandon. You won. I think you are 2-0 against me in this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have gave you the easier one, which was the New York Yankees one, but we can do that one next time.
No, it's okay. I've seen that list countless times. That's the thing. Every time A-Rod hit a grand slam in my life, they always put the tally on the screen. So I've seen it too many times.
All right, so I have a question for you guys. I'm only going to give you – I have to be out of here by 10:40. Okay. So you have 2 minutes to answer. There are 5 players in the history of the NBA who have averaged 25 points and 6 assists for their careers. 2 of them are current. One's from the 2000s and 2 are from the 60s. The timer starts now.
I'll go first, Justin. LeBron.
LeBron is one of the 4 players. 1 of 5. Yes.
James Harden.
James Harden is not.
I don't think he has 25 for his career. 25 and 6. And 6 could be rebounds or assists, right?
And by the way, James Harden averaged 24.7 points. So he's 0.3 points away from qualifying.
Okay.
But 6 could be rebounds or assists?
No, it's 6 assists.
Okay, 6. Magic didn't do it.
Philadelphia.
Steph Curry.
Nope.
Damn it.
Not enough assists. Philly. That's like an amazing guess, dude. Or amazing hint.
Philly.
Julius Irving.
Allen Iverson.
Allen Iverson.
Okay, that was going to be my next one.
We've talked about one in the episode. The other 2 are from the 60s.
These the last 2 are from the 60s?
Yes.
Oh, there's 3 left.
Yes.
There's 3 left. 2 from the 60s. Jerry West?
Jerry West is, yes. And his teammate, he was taken in the same exact draft class in 9.
Then what?
Just looking it up.
Oh.
Your guess, Justin. You got one from the 60s and then one other player that I think is current, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
The other one is current.
You took Jerry West. He was taken 2nd overall in 1960. This player's taken number 1.
It's not Russ.
Out of Cincinnati. He's often compared to Russ. We've got 15 seconds. Often compared to Russ.
Oscar Robinson.
The last player is on the trade mill. 10.
Justin. He's on the trade mill.
What are you doing? Go.
He is a point guard. 6 foot.
Lillard.
Yes.
Yes.
3 seconds left. Well done, fellas.
And
with all that out the way, is there
Damian
anything to
Lillard.
add before we wrap up the episode?
Justin almost cost us that game. No, I almost gone through that.
I didn't know it was my turn.
We're getting close to 10 seconds on the timer. We had 4, but
No, that'll be it. We got free agency. I think starts tomorrow, or the offers allowed to be starting tomorrow or tonight. I think. So excited. Probably gonna get some reports. Woj and Shams are gonna be on their shit. I'm ready to hear some big news. Hopefully.
Yeah. I'd say one thing. I love NBA chaos. I know we did this, and a lot of the guys went on the same teams. But I really hope everybody goes somewhere else, and it's a completely new NBA landscape. So
chaos is good.
Let's go.
With all that being said, that'll wrap up this episode of the Wise Guys Podcast. Be sure to like and follow if you enjoyed. And as always, till next time.
Stay classy.